call the meeting back to order and have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag led by Councilman Forrest Fleming. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you much, and please be seated.
Welcome, and we'd like our invocation to be given by the Reverend Dennis Stamper, Chaplain, Carolina Healthcare System, Blue Ridge.
Thank you. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for the blessings of life together in this beautiful community. We thank you for the beauty and peace in which we live, for the abundance of resources which you have given us, and for the safety and security which we too often take for granted. Almighty God, bless those who hold office in this government of this country, this state, this community, and this town. Guide and uphold them, strengthen and encourage them as they make important decisions that affect so many. Inspire them to serve in a spirit of wisdom and kindness, faithfully promoting the welfare of us all. We ask your blessings upon all our citizens, where they live and where they work. Give to all a satisfaction in what they do and a just return for their hard labors. We ask that you will bless this community to grow and to prosper and to provide opportunities for all. Strengthen the ties of mutual concern and respect that form our life together. Give us strength of purpose that we may create here a community where men and women with different talents and abilities from different backgrounds and cultures may find with one another the fulfillment of their dreams and the courage and strength to live rightly and generously together. Amen.
Dennis, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to introduce the council. To my far right, Forrest Fleming, Councilman. Louis Vina, our City Attorney. I'm Ronnie Thompson, your Mayor. Sally Sandy, our City Manager. Sidney Simmons, Councilman. John Cantrell, Mayor Pro Tem. Kelly Russell is our City Clerk. And interpreting for the deaf, Joy Hearn Guzman. We have a couple of retiree resolutions tonight. Our first resolution, Sally, I believe, is with Robert Basinger.
It is.
You give us a summary of that, please.
And Robert is unable to be with us tonight and expresses his sadness about not being able to be here, but we will take care of him receiving this.
Okay. Our second resolution of retirement is a first for me anyway. We have a resolution for retiring Maxo, a canine assigned to the Morganton Department of Public Safety. And it is as follows. Whereas Police Canine Maxo has faithfully served the Morganton Department of Public Safety since he was placed into service in August 2010, and whereas Maxo has been assigned to PSO Brian Thompson during the entire period of service, and whereas Maxo has assisted in the location of several missing children and the apprehension of multiple suspects, and whereas Maxo has made numerous finds of controlled substances, and whereas he has rendered a valuable service to the Morganton Department of Public Safety along with the community in which he served, he is approaching 6 years of service and is beginning to have some physical difficulty carrying out his duties and is recommended for retirement. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Morganton that Police Canine Maxo is hereby retired from service, declared to be surplus property, and deemed to pose a potential threat to the public health and safety if not provided with proper care and management subsequent to the transfer of the city's ownership in interest in Maxo. Therefore, the honor and numerous citations transferred to Major Tony Loudermilk. Maxo will be transferred free and clear of any purchase price or transfer fee of any kind in consideration and on the condition that Major Loudermilk assumes full responsibility for providing adequate shelter care and supervision of Maxo for the remainder of Maxo's life without any funding or assistance from the city. This resolution, adopted by the Morganton City Council in open session during a regular meeting held the 6th day of June 2016. Ronnie Thompson, Mayor. Sally Sandy, City Clerk. Do I have a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Like, Tony, to bring Maxo forward, please.
He's so
Got a
cute.
resolution for him.
No, he'll get it later. Just a shake.
Shake Paul.
Oh.
Transfer of the dog.
He can shake his.
I know Maxo can't talk. Would you like to say a few words?
I want to thank the council for the time and recognition of the K-9 program and the MAXO, and want to thank you for your past support and your support in the future of the K-9 program for the City of Morganton Public Safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the other two babies, you want to recognize the other two?
Tony, could you recognize the other two dogs, please? Why don't bring them forward? I think we can get them on camera. And I hope no one's carrying drugs tonight, because we'll be well covered.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
If we get that on camera, great.
In the middle, I've got Officer Huffman with K-9 Stretch. On the far left, I got Officer Miller with K-9 Chemo.
Yep.
Oh, you're so precious.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for what you do.
Okay. Under public advocacy, upcoming events, we have at Comma, David Benedict and Michael Moore on July 7th, the Loose Strings Band on July 21st. Our farmers market continues Wednesdays on North Green Street and Saturdays at the Morganton Depot. Our TGIF concerts continue on Fridays at the Old Courthouse Square. Next, we have a Patriot Award. And I think, Sally, you want to help me with that? Is Ronnie going to do that presentation? Or
I think Forrest is going to do
Forrest,
that.
you want to do that presentation, please?
I'll ask our police chief, Chief Rector, to join me at the podium, if you will. We're very pleased to have an honored guest with us tonight to make his presentation to the chief. He's a retired judge and is currently the state chair for employer support for the Guard and Reserve. Mr. Ron Vogel, if you'll join me.
Thank you, Forrest, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council. It is indeed a great honor for me to have the privilege of being back here in Burke County, where I've had the honor of holding court and getting to know the heart and pulse of the people of this county for many, many years, and they are great and good people. So it is particularly a great opportunity and an honor for me to have the chance to be back here in this county to present this particular award. So tonight, I did have the high honor of being selected by the Department of Defense as the state chair of the North Carolina Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. We are an office of the U.S. Department of Defense, and like Councilman Fleming, he and I are both volunteers who volunteer our time, our energies, and our effort for a community of people for whom we have the greatest passion, and that's those people who serve our nation in the uniform of the armed services. But not only that uniform, it's also particularly a pleasure tonight to honor someone who serves our nation in another uniform, and that's the uniform of law enforcement. They do wonderful things here in Morganton and across our state and our nation. So on behalf of my bosses, Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter, and ESGR National Chair, Major General retired Paul Mock, they've instructed me, as only the military can instruct folks, to come and make a presentation in Burke County, and it was my great honor to come down from Crusoe, North Carolina, to make this presentation to Chief Ronnie Rector. As nominated by one of his employees, Staff Sergeant Roger Tate, is Sergeant Tate present? Who nominated him for recognition for the outstanding support that Chief Rector provides for his members of his department who serve our nation in either the Guard or Reserve Force. So On behalf of the United States Department of Defense and the Committee for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, I present to Chief Ronnie Rector Patriot Award for his support of employees serving in our nation's national defense and the Guard and Reserve. Thank you.
On behalf of the Department of Public Safety in the city, we have many members of our agency and departments throughout the city that serve this country in other ways, and when we're very proud of each one. And matter of fact, we have a young man that's leaving the country right now to go over to a different theater to serve his country and risk his life for everyone throughout the nation and everyone in this room. And we're very thankful and proud of those people, and I pledge that we will continue to do everything we can to support those men and women who go above and beyond on our behalf. Thank y'all.
Next on our agenda is a water resources update. I'll call on Brad Boris, our Water Resources Director, to make his presentation.
Thank you, everybody. In the water distribution pipe industry, we're entering a transition period similar to what the industry saw back in the mid to late 50s, where cast iron pipe, which was a really good, strong, although be it brittle pipe, it was replaced by ductile iron pipe, which it was stronger and it had more flexibility. Now we see that the ductile iron pipe, even though it has flexible capabilities, it's also not, it still allows for corrosion. So what you're seeing now in the industry is a zinc-coated ductile iron pipe. And you ask why zinc? It's basically a better asset management tool. Zinc, for the simple term, being able to coat a pipe or a type of metal with a more corrosion adherent property pipe material such as zinc. When you coat ductile iron with zinc, the zinc actually takes the corrosion and leaves the ductile iron free of corrosion, which is a better asset management tool, and it allows the pipe to last longer. Ductile iron pipe that's put in the ground and it's well maintained will last upwards of 100 years. There's over 600 utilities in the United States that have pieces of ductile iron that have been in the ground for 100 years. So when you add zinc, it's estimated that you will almost double that lifespan. So 185 years on a piece of pipe is pretty good. Right now, we're looking at ductile iron in the system, in our system, going forward. The ductile iron industry has actually recognized the city of Morganton as being the first municipality in the state of North Carolina to install ductile iron, zinc-coated ductile iron pipe. So we're really proud of that. We really didn't know that we were the first. I know Charlotte and Raleigh were actually looking at projects to install this type of material, because the cost is actually 8 to 10% more. So our most recent, I think Chad has a couple of pictures up on the, yeah. The most recent project, almost a half a mile of 12-inch ductile iron, which replaced 50-year-old cast iron pipe along US 1864. We had several breaks. That brittle pipe in the ground basically was beyond its life cycle. So when we put that ductile iron in with zinc, we're hoping that my son's great-great-grandchildren will be the ones that have to replace that pipe. And exactly what it cost on that project was a little over $12,000 of additional cost, which we were still in budget, but for about $140 a year for the next 85 years past the 100-year life cycle, I think that's really of great value, and that far exceeds the cost of that project and that material going into the ground. So I'm just here to present to you that the projects that you allow the Water Resources Department to do, this is just some of the money that's being spent, and it's basically better asset management with a little bit more cost, but the value and the life cycle cost is far exceeding the cost. So we appreciate that.
Any questions for Brad?
Yeah, if you got any questions, please ask. The project should be wrapped up here in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to make the tie-in here next week or two.
Thanks.
Yep.
Next, I'll call on our Public Safety Chief, Ronnie Rector, for an update on our fire rating.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Madam Manager. In March of this year, the North Carolina Department of Insurance Office of State Fire Marshal came to Morganton to give us a physical, if you will. And so we were inspected as a part of the North Carolina Rating Response System. And the North Carolina Rating Response System has multiple things that it's trying to accomplish. And one of those is it's a way of evaluating a fire department in terms of fire prevention and suppression capabilities. Another purpose is that it looks to provide a public protection classification system for the insurance companies, which helps determine how much insurance that we pay as homeowners and business owners. The rating system as a whole is designed as a system of checks and balances. It helps us to ensure that as an agency we are meeting the established criteria by the North Carolina Department of Insurance, the National Fire Protection Association, OSHA. It helps us to ensure that we're meeting the federal, state, and local standards. And as a member of the governing body and as a member of the community, you have access to our rating, which is an indicator to you how well we're doing as a public safety agency. And more specific, as public safety, we're obviously fire and police, but this pertains only to fire. So it helps to ensure to you, the governing body, and to the community that you are doing what is expected of us, that we're doing what is expected of us. The criteria that we're rated on is emergency communication. There are several criteria: emergency communications, the fire department as a whole, water supplies, and community risk reduction. The emergency communication, we're rated in terms of from the time the 911 call is placed to its dispatch, to we respond to the emergency, to we've arrived on scene and mitigated whatever's taken place. The fire department is looked at in terms of apparatus, the placement of the apparatus, the equipment that's on the apparatus, the primary responding apparatus, the secondary responding apparatus. We look at the equipment as a whole throughout the fire department, look at the personnel, the training of the personnel, the number of personnel, look at pre-incident planning, the pre-plans that you see the fire trucks that's driving up and down the roads all day doing. That's part of the pre-planning, which is part of this rating. The policies that we have in place. The water supply looks at our municipal water system as a whole. So the credit just don't go to public safety. The credit goes to our water department and our municipal water supply, because we have one of the best in the state. And that's thanks to those guys that are doing that job day in and day out. But in terms of the fire department, they look at our hydrant inspection program, our hydrant maintenance program, our flow testing program. They also look at community risk reduction, which includes our arson investigations and our investigators. What is their certification? What is their level of expertise? It looks at public education. It looks at our fire inspection program. And when I came to the department several years ago, we were a Class 4 fire department, as rated by the North Carolina Department of Insurance. And in 2003, we went through an inspection and we went to a Class 5 fire department, which is a reduction. Means that we went down on the scale. And in September 1 of 2016, we will become a Class 3 fire department, which is a very good rating for this city. The rating, we're one of only three, we're actually the only Class 3 fire department in Burke County, the highest rated fire department in Burke County. Of the over 1,500 fire departments in North Carolina, only 100 of them are rated at a 4 or above. According to the North Carolina Department of Insurance website, only 37 fire departments in North Carolina were a Class 3 or above, and only 3,220 nationwide were a Class 3 or above. So it's quite a distinction. Because we're a Class 3 to fire department, that helps ensure that homeowners will not pay an increased insurance cost due to inadequacies within the fire department. It helps ensure that commercial carriers of insurance or businesses may pay a reduced rate because of the fire rating, which will be a benefit to us and a benefit to our community. This rating is due not only to the water department, which I mentioned before, but part of the credit goes to them and the water system that we have. It goes to you because you fund us and give us the equipment and what we need to be an adequate and a better than adequate fire department. The credit also goes to public safety employees who are out here doing the work each and every day to make sure that we're meeting the standards, that are doing the pre-planning and the building inspections, that are out here in terms of the fire department and the pre-plans, are out here doing the hydrant maintenance and the flow testing day in and day out, day and night. And so the credit goes to the hardworking men and women of public safety, and I'm very proud to say that I work with these guys, and I'm proud that our department, which is unique, being a public safety department, actually is a Class 3 fire department. That's quite an honor. So.
Any questions for Chief?
Chief, does the Department of Insurance, do they notify our insurance carriers, or is that up to each individual, or how does that work?
Well, I don't know that they will notify you independently, but when you apply or renew your insurance, they will look at where you live in terms, and they will understand, they will know our classification as a fire department, which will help ensure that because of us, I can't say your insurance will not go up, but because of us, it will not go up.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the North Carolina Municipal Power Agency #1 update. Sally?
Nothing at this time, except to let you know the annual meeting will be in August.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Sally, if you'll cover those items.
Certainly. The consent agenda tonight includes 4 individual items. Those are all considered to be routine in nature. Would ask that you consider adopting those in one motion, unless someone would like something discussed separately. For those of you viewing at home, that includes minutes for the meeting held on May the 2nd, 2016, tax releases in the amount of $310.19, a budget amendment to allow us to receive funds from Morganton Savings Bank to fund the Etta Baker sculpture that will be installed at Comma. And finally, the appointing of a deputy tax collector and approving a resolution adopting an order directing the deputy tax collector to collect taxes. And would like to tell you tonight that we're very fortunate to have with us Jenny McNeely, who is going to be our deputy tax collector and do what that order says, collect those taxes.
Do any council member want any items removed from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Okay. Next, we will have the presentation of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2016-2017. Sally?
This is when I get excited. Look forward to this all year long.
And you do a good job.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know, you better wait till I'm done. Let's see how it goes, right? And I have Karen assisting in more ways than one with this budget, but tonight she's going to be doing the technical assistance with the program. And we do have a PowerPoint put together. There are a lot of numbers, and I'm going to talk about a lot of those numbers. I'm going to try not to bore everybody with too much detail, but I do think it's important, and I would like to share with you a few things about the budget. So the budget before you tonight for 2016-17 is $71.1 million. And that is about 5% less than the budget we're currently operating under, and the budget that we're currently operating under is almost $75 million. And so there's been some changes. A lot of those changes involve capital projects that span from one year to the other and that make year-to-year comparisons a little bit more difficult. We'll share with you that included in this budget are capital projects. You've just heard about our new water pipes and how we're working on those. You've heard the chief talk about fire equipment and fire trucks and all kinds of things. In this proposed budget, the general fund includes $3.6 million of capital funding, and the utilities funds altogether, all 4, a little bit over $3 million. We'll tell you that in that general fund budget, there's $1.1 million of grant money that will fund just about a third of that capital budget for next year. And so we have been aggressive in going after grants, and public safety is one of our most aggressive departments in going after and being successful in getting grants. We continue to fund our local partnerships, And those are listed for you there. I will not go through the detail of all of those. It's Burke Development, Burke County Library, the 911 Center, Foothills Regional Airport, a total of $795,000. Next year, I want to talk a little bit about the Burke County Narcotics Task Force. Both Valdez and Morganton have given their notice that next year will be our last year participating in that entity, in that structure. We have been longtime participants in that, and I want the community to understand that that is in no way a reflection that we will no longer fight narcotics and drug use in our community. We will just do it within a different structure. The drug business has changed, and a lot has changed about that. The Joint Task Force no longer serves the same purpose that it did when it was first created, and therefore we think it is time to give our notice and to move on. We'll also say to everyone, and I know this was in the newspaper, this does not in any way reflect that we will not cooperate with all law enforcement, with the Sheriff's Office and the other smaller law enforcement agencies in Burke County. We have a long history of cooperation, and that will not change because of this decision. Okay, I've been talking about this for 2 or 3 years now, and I still think it's true, and a lot has changed since I started talking about this. Have an opportunity to redevelop the Broughton campus and the adjoining state property. You've heard me talk a lot about this, 800 acres of property that are ripe for redevelopment, ripe for public-private partnerships to create some tax base and some opportunities in our community and our region of North Carolina that don't exist anywhere else. In March, the citizens of North Carolina approved the bond referendum, and included in that is $58 million to fund the construction of a western campus of the North Carolina School of Science and Math, which is a really awesome thing. That will be a high school similar to the one in Durham. That would be a residential high school that would be a catalyst on that property to lead to other development, support our communities in the surrounding area, and give an opportunity for that school to operate in western North Carolina with a different curriculum than the one in Durham. Really cool thing. And I know we've had the opportunity, a lot of us, to hear Dr. Todd Roberts talk about that, the chancellor. They are excited. They are moving on. They are picking a spot in that 800 acres, and they plan to have that done by next June. And so then we can move on with redevelopment and know which part of that property they will locate on. Still a great thing for our community and beyond. The general fund budget, which is what we all equate with government, non-utilities, right? So we're talking recreation, public safety, Main Street, community house, and then administrative functions, planning, zoning, development, design, engineering, those kinds of things. Next year's budget, $22.3 million, almost $22.4. A little bit about that, recommending that the current tax rate, 53 cents per $100, remains the same. No recommended tax rate increase. I think we're the only ones in the newspaper that didn't get our headline that said no tax rate increase of the governments who were not recommending an increase. Note to self over there. 1 cent equals approximately $157,000 for next year. That's down just slightly from this year. In the budget, total tax revenue, $8.2 million. That is 37% of the general fund revenues, by far the largest revenue in the general fund. We'll tell you that that is pretty flat. And I feel like I need to say that because this is the second year in a row that our ad valorem tax revenue has been flat. And while on its surface that's not concerning, for the long haul for me that is concerning, because that means that our industries, the big taxpayers, aren't reinvesting in new capital and equipment faster than their depreciation is happening. And we go through cycles like that. What concerns me is if that cycle gets extended and goes on for several more years, because then we obviously look at our services or a required tax rate increase. So feel the need to say that. We're good this year, but feel the need to say that. One new tax, and nobody likes a new tax. I don't like a new tax either, but the fact of the matter is that services cost money. and you have to raise the money to provide them. In 2014, we lost the privilege license tax, which generated about $215,000 to $230,000 a year. The General Assembly took that away. They have not replaced that with any other revenue, and we are still feeling the effects of that. So in our budget meetings this year and our committee meetings, we proposed to you a vehicle tax. That has been around for a long time. Lots of governments have used it for a while. The different thing about it now, the state gives you the permission to do it. They used to set that at a $5 maximum. They changed that last session and upped that to $30. You're allowed to charge up to $30 per personal tagged vehicle, not dealer vehicles, not inventory vehicles, not commercial type vehicles. Personal tagged vehicles is what we're talking about. According to DMV, this will generate for us about $240,000. So that's proposed in this budget to replace the revenue that we lost from the privilege license taxes. That would come to everyone as a one-time bill when you get your tag renewal. And remember now, we get that and our tax bill all at the same time. Sales tax. Sales tax is the second largest revenue in the general fund budget, and next year we are budgeting about $3.7 million, and that is a really happy number. That represents about 10% growth. I will tell you that that includes, as you see there, almost $250,000. Remember last year's General Assembly and all the sales tax reform and all that really happened down there. Very controversial, taking money from one community and giving to another. It pitted cities against city. That's never a good plan. However, they did pass legislation, and in that we were a net gain. So we are expected to get about $248,000 more in sales tax revenue next year, simply from that change. So we have budgeted the total $3.7 million in next year's budget. Downtown tax rate, and that is for the municipal service district, recommended to remain at 14 cents per $100 value. 1 cent on that tax rate generates about $8,400. The total budget for the downtown taxes next year is a little over $116,000. That funds about 20% of the Main Street expenditures. We'll also tell you in that 14 cents has been that since a really long time.
21 years.
I don't remember what year, but
21 years.
21 years.
I looked it up today.
There you go. So it has been 14 cents for 21 years. And would mention in the downtown plan, and we'll talk a little bit about this too, Brad's talking about asset planning and master planning, and that has been what we've been going through. You don't know where you're going unless you have a plan. And our master plan for downtown is over 15 years old. It's time to do a new one. You talked about this at your workshop back in March. The cost for that is $255,000, and that is a lot of money. We spent about that on the last one, but it has served us well. It has generated and helped us to generate about $40 million worth of private investment with what was named in that plan and with the projects that it has encouraged us to go after in this community. We'll tell you that we have received $96,000 from the state of North Carolina, and that was a direct benefit from the General Assembly. It was included in legislation, and 13 Main Street communities got that, and we were one of them. Solid waste, the garbage fee. No recommended increase, $10 per month, and that generates a little over $1.1 million a year and helps to pay for our sanitation services. Other state collected revenues, the big boys in the budget, utility franchise tax is about $1.9 million. That is collected by the state and then comes back to us. The beer and wine tax, just under $80,000, and the Powell bill funds, which help us with our road maintenance, $478,000, almost $479,000. That is down a little bit from this year. We are seeing some changes in the formulas at the state, and we are seeing that decrease. We'll tell you that the General Assembly has talked about doing away with those dollars. That would be devastating to us. Occupancy tax, something that years ago we didn't get, and we have been getting that for the last several years. We had a a law change, and now Burke County, Morganton, and Valdez share in that funding. That is the heads in beds tax, and that is the tax generated by visitors and folks who come and stay in our community at our hotels. I would wager to say that Morganton is a large generator of heads in beds in Burke County, because we do a lot of activities, we support a lot of things that support that, and that's our festivals, promotions, sporting events, other opportunities, and investing in that is an investment in our community. Occupancy tax is up. We can see a direct benefit from all the activities that the Tourism Development Authority has been doing in conjunction with the municipalities and the county. We'll put the Red, White, and Bluegrass Festival up there because it seems to be something that everybody wants to talk about. That is a city event, unlike the historic Morganton Festival, which is an event put on by a 501c3 that the city is a big partner and supporter and funder in, but it is not truly a city event. It's not owned by the city. The Red, White, and Bluegrass Festival is. In 2017, this will be a 3-day event. There are $100,000 worth of expenditures included in this budget for that event. It will be a ticketed event those 3 days, July 1, 2, and 3, and $80,000 of revenues are budgeted for that. So that is basically a $20,000 contribution the city is planning to make toward that event. And every year that we have had that, you have budgeted revenues and expenditures in the years that we charged. In the earlier years, we did not. And every year, we have never budgeted for those to be equal. July 4th in 2017 is planned to be a family-free fun day. No charges for anything, and there will be fireworks and music and food and other activities, seed spitting, frog jumping, you know, all the usual kinds of stuff on the 4th of July. Capital, we talked about the $3.6 million. We talked about the capital in extensive detail in March at your workshop. Just some reminders of things included in there. There's the brick and mortar repair at Comma, sound improvements at Comma, and you see those amounts, $60,000 and $73,000. Public safety, fire truck to be financed by a borrowing, patrol cars to be financed by a borrowing. We'll tell you that there are $524,000 of grant funds included in their capital budget for equipment to help pay for those. See the cars? Fire equipment and gear and facilities improvements. In that 96, there's several things that make that up. Love the pictures. Nice to get to see everybody in action and the real stuff. Public Works, a new rear loader and a sweeper. Maintaining those streets and sanitation services require equipment, and looking at funding those with a financing. The Good Habit Rabbit replacement, and we still call the truck the Good Habit Rabbit. Had a call about that just this week to talk about that. We used to have a rabbit that went around and talked to the kids and everything about cleaning up, and it's just stuck with us. Mowing equipment, and then the street sweeper included in the Public Works. Another master plan opportunity, and I'm excited for the new recreation director that he gets to come at a time when we're getting ready to do a new master plan. Our recreation master plan is more than 15 years old. We are now ineligible to apply for state funding unless we update that, and that's a big deal. $70,000 included in the budget to pay for that. $49,000 included for the weight room upgrade at College Street, which is desperately needed. Fitness is becoming a big part of life, and folks want nice equipment in a pleasant place to work out. Park improvements in all of our parks, $80,000, and then the renovation of the Martin Luther King Jr. Park. Part of that, $150,000 from Kate B. Reynolds, $250,000 from the Rec Foundation. We'll say to you that we are currently relooking at this plan. We had a lot of community involvement to come to this plan with the Kate B. Reynolds process. But with the announcement that the schools are going to tear down the old Mountain View School and build a new school at that park, at that facility, at that area, we have opportunities perhaps to make some even better improvements with this park and to share with the schools to support their programming, and they in turn support everything that we've been investing in that area. We'll tell you that the staff, we are already meeting with the school board, and with the school staff, and we are looking at ways that that can be even better for that part of our community. So we may be bringing back some changes to you for that. The skate park, and it's a shame that they left, because I wanted applause and clapping. $180,000 for the skate park, $75,000 from the general fund, taxpayer supported, $90,000 from the Recreation Foundation, and then $15,000 in private donations, which we heard tonight the Optimist Club is going to do. So that's a really great thing. Also excited, our new recreation director will get the opportunity to work on this project because he comes to us with experience of having taken over a skate park and actually managed one and oversaw some improvements to one. And so I'm excited about that opportunity. Mowing equipment, petanque courts, looking to build 2 petanque courts, French bocce ball. Good description?
Yes, very good.
At the soccer complex, on the property at the soccer complex, and add yet another feature out there for folks to have another activity to do while they're out there. Fund balance in the general fund, $173,642. So even with the new revenue and with what we looked at, we still didn't balance the budget to zero. There are not enough revenues to support the expenditures requested. However, we do feel comfortable. The last couple years we have not used fund balance, even though we plan to, and we feel comfortable this will leave us well in excess of your 15% policy to keep 15% or greater of our general fund in fund balance. Water fund, almost $6 million. No recommended changes in rates. We are currently in the midst of a master plan that will look at the next 15 to 20 years and assets that we will need and required reinvestment in our infrastructure in that fund. In conjunction with that, we are working on a rate study, looking at what our rates will need to look like as we go forward and take on the infrastructure improvements that we need. Capital projects included in there, the $1.2 million Clearwell storage project being funded by a 0% interest loan. We'll tell you that our rates are still really low, and before we talk a little bit about the capital, for 5,000 gallons a month in Morganton, $14.40 for water. And that's pretty darn cheap. That is very cheap compared to our neighbors. So we provide it at a bargain basement price. So low that we don't qualify for some state help in some areas. Water tank maintenance continuing, $309,000, and line replacement, and working on those old lines, and just what Brad was talking about, $350,000. And you see some pictures of tanks there, and you saw the water lines earlier tonight that we are working to replace. We'll tell you that because we have been aggressive in that in the last couple of years, we have reduced our non-billed water, which is leakage in the system. And because we have changed out some meters, some old meters that were less efficient, and because we have done the water line replacement, we have reduced our non-billed water by 13%. And that's pretty good. Customers growing usage about 1% annually. We're at 48% of our capacity. That's 8.7 million gallons per day. And we're real proud of that 13% figure here. Electric. That's the big daddy in the budget. $33.6 million. So for next year, we think we're going to spend $33.6 million to keep the lights on. The power agency is passing on to us a wholesale rate decrease of 0.4%. That will be effective to us July 1. We are recommending for the second year in a row that you pass on to our customers a 1.6% rate decrease. That would become effective August 1st of 2016. It's not a large one, but yet it is something. The typical residents would see about $2.40, I wish 240, $2.40 a month. Commercial and industrial customers, it would range between $21 and $400 a month. Also recommending that we put away rate stabilization next year of $350 for future rate increases to help, lower the effects of some of those. We'll tell you we plan to do that this year, but we're projecting that we only are gonna set aside about $75,000. It's been a very unusual weather and every other kind of year this past year. Capital projects, 2 new trucks. Takes trucks and equipment to have those fellows out there working in all that weather and taking care and keeping those lights on. Looking at financing both of those trucks. They're just over $350,000 for the 2. And also continuing our pole inspections and replacements and continuing upgrading our old substations that serve our large customers. Next year will be Viscotech and EJ Victor. Did I get that right? Wastewater, $5.3 million. Same as water, no change in rates, working on that master plan and that rate study. Plant operating at 45% of capacity, 4.7 million gallons a day. And here too, with the manhole rehabilitation and the line rehabilitation program, have reduced our non-billed treated waste by 12%. Working still on the project that ultimately will convert our pure oxygen facility to a traditional treatment facility. We're in the design part of that project now, $621,000 that you have already awarded a contract for. You'll see $250,000 to sewer line rehab and manhole rehab to continue taking care of our older system, and some Bethel Basin rehab, about $200,000 next year. Compass, and we're going to call that Compass because that is even more important and not the cable fund, which is difficult for us old timers to do. $4.5 million. Looks about the same as this year, but it is very different than the current budget. Recall, since January, we've been working with a consultant. We've been looking at that business plan and our business model. No secrets. We are learning and having confirmed that video service, TV, and people watching TV and paying for cable is a declining business. At the same time that that business is declining, the internet business and speed is growing. Our consultant feels like we have a viable business. He has given us a plan for the next 18 months that we continue to work and tweak to restructure this business, and we are in the middle of that. As that video service is declining, the cost to provide TV programming is still huge, $1.9 million in next year to pay for TV programming. August 1st, 2016, you will see some increases. Folks will see that in some equipment costs per month. They range between $2 and $7 depending on the type of equipment you have. HBO will go from $15.95 to $17.95. And in January, basic cable service will increase from $70.95 to $75.63 per month. Internet. This is where big changes are happening. Our current customers that have our lowest speed, which is 10 megabits per second, will remain grandfathered at that speed. However, that speed will go away. We will no longer sell that to anyone. Beginning in August, they will pay $2 per month, the customers that remain on that, for their modem rental fee. That is industry standard. The current customers that get 20 and 30 megabits per second speeds, that service, those customers will get upgraded to 50, which will really increase their speed, and that cost will be $49.95 per month. That is also, per our consultant, consistent with industry standards. The $10 bundling discount will remain in place for 16-17 for customers that take multiple products. That will reduce down in 17-18 to $5, and by 18-19 it will go away. Capital is limited, as recommended by our consultant, and most of it is associated with upgrades to troubleshooting and fiber activation, as you see there, and expansion of fiber for phone and internet customers. Cemetery Trust Fund, standard year there, business as usual, selling lots and niches in the columbarium. $11,750 is the budget for next year for that. IGS, our intergovernmental service folks that serve us that we could not live without, and that includes our IT, our warehouse, and our garage. Total budget, $2,057,000. It's pretty close to the budget for this year. IRMS, and as we call them, that's IT, $975,000. Support contracts, hardware and software, almost $300,000 of that. Next year's big project, document imaging, so that we can better store and retrieve all of the records that we keep. The warehouse, $352,000, pretty average. Most of that is purchases of inventory, equipment services, $730,000. Fuel purchases make up $475,000 of that. And for the first time in several years, we're doing some capital improvements at the city garage, $48,000 worth of new air compressor and a brake lathe. So people, 1% cost of living adjustment July the 9th. That would go to all city employees, all full-time city employees. That is $112,190 is what that would cost for next year. A 1.5% merit increase in March, and that would go to employees who, after our performance appraisal process, receive merit pay. That's $56,000 for next year. You have allowed us to include $40,000 for a pay and classification study. Just saw where the county is proposing to raise their pay classes up. It has been a while for them. We have not done one of those since 2004. It has been quite some time, and we need to take a look at that in order to remain competitive, to attract the best, the brightest, and to keep people providing the services our community deserves. We have gone from being self-insured to fully insured. We've recognized about $700,000 in savings for that move, and the taxpayers no longer have the risk of paying our insurance claims. So, $71 million. No services decreased or eliminated. Master plans going on in general government services and utility services. Business plans being evaluated in utility services. No ad valorem tax increase. However, ask you to consider the $20 motor vehicle tax. Traditional utility rates are either remaining the same or decreasing. You have a variety of changes to the internet fees, as we have talked about, and some changes in the television portion of the Compass business. So, this budget continues what we do. It allows us to continue providing the services that our community is accustomed to. It allows us to continue to reinvest in our community, to support activities, to support the look of our community, to support what we do that creates a sense of place that makes people want to be here, whether they want to live here, move here, work here, or visit here. And all of those folks are important to making the whole thing work. Very proud to be a part of the team. I said in my budget summary, and I won't go through, I used The Blind Side this year. I like to do a movie every year, and I used Michael Oher's words when he wrote about the charge of the Light Brigade and talked about courage and honor, and courage being something that you can even do stupidly and that sometimes is just happenstance. And I not that I think it's stupid in the least, but I think our day-to-day activities are routine for us, and it's something that we take pride in, but we do it because it's the right thing to do. I think when we do, as he said, mix that with the honor, which is where you do stuff you might not comfortable with, or things that really mean something, and I think those are all the extra things. Those are the things that make this place special. And I get to do that with a group of people who care, and I thank you. And I thank Karen for all of her help, because I couldn't do it without you. And I thank all of you for your hours and your pouring over this, because $71 million is a lot of money, and it's a lot of responsibility. But I think it's responsible. I thank all the department heads for their hard work and the employees for what they do every day.
Sally, thanks. Karen, would you like to add anything as finance director? Okay. That's good.
She says I talk too long.
No, you don't.
Just as always, thank you. I work for the best city manager in the world, and I am so grateful for the support that that I receive and Sally receives from the mayor and the city council, so thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen, for your hard work.
I'd like a motion to call for a public hearing on the proposed budget on Monday, June 20th, 2016 at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Under new business, we have several public hearings. Our first public hearing is to, do I need to go ahead and call it? Okay.
Yes.
You can go ahead now.
I'd like to call a public hearing to consider rezoning 4 areas within the municipal service district to a central business district, CBD, zoning classification. Louis, I think I'm gonna turn that one over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. In the absence of our planning director who had a previous commitment, and I don't, Chad, do we have the videos on this? I'm not sure we have those. They're in your packet, however.
We good?
Oh, well, no, that's, nope.
Wrong one.
That's a couple of
Audio.
times. These would be the maps. I don't know if we have the map
We
in
may
there.
not have that. That's okay.
Thanks.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
City staff had identified 4 separate areas in the downtown area that they felt should be zoned central business district. All of these separate areas around the fringes of downtown are already and have been for many, many years within the downtown municipal service tax district. However, they are not zoned central business district. They were zoned either low intensity or medium intensity, LID or MID. When you all adopted the new zoning ordinance and map at the end of 2014, it had actually been one of the goals and intentions to make sure that every property within the downtown municipal tax district be zoned central business district. These were simply overlooked at that time. Now, there are properties that are zoned central business district that are not within the downtown tax district, and those aren't before us tonight for consideration. Most of these 4 properties are identified as areas 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the map that's attached to your materials. And as you can see, they are, number 1 is between North Green Street and Bouchelle Street. It's actually a complete block between North Green and Bouchelle, and also between Fleming Street and Catawba Street. Area 2 is bounded on one side by Bouchelle, on another side by Avery Avenue, and is the area of Patterson Street as well. Area 3 is 2 very small tracts on East Concord Street, one on each side of the street. Area 4 is bounded by West Union and North College. All of these areas were suggested for rezoning by the staff, for rezoning to central business district. Matter was brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 12th, and at the request of a property owner, a single property in Area 4 was taken out of that rezoning proposal. And I think you can see that on the close-up map of Area 4, which is attached, is a
Triangle.
residential property located on West Union. Otherwise, all of Area 4 and all of Areas 1, 2, and 3 were recommended for approval unanimously by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This public hearing has, of course, been properly noticed and is now before you.
And could I say that this does not change any tax obligation, no changes to the municipal service district tax, because all of these properties already pay that tax.
This is purely a zoning issue, has nothing to do with the municipal tax district.
Would any member of the public like to speak about the motion that will be made later to consider rezoning the 4 areas within the municipal service district to a central business district zoning classification?
But you need to come forward, Lori.
Can-
I'm sorry.
Can
So
you
we
say it up there so we can hear just at the microphone?
Yeah, just come over here. And if you would identify yourself, please.
Laurie
name and address.
Hopkins, I own property in number one. So is that going to change any property taxes?
No.
No,
Okay, I
nothing
know you
will
mentioned.
change.
Okay. And then what is the special tax district and what?
The municipal, technically it's called municipal service district, commonly called the downtown tax district, is an area which basically is all of downtown area, which for 30-some years now. Sally, is
39
that right?
blocks, is it 39? 36 blocks.
36 years has been, 36 blocks, excuse me, but since the 1980s has been designated as a special district. That tax of 14 cents per hundred valuation, which hasn't changed in 21 years, is collected to fund downtown development, particularly the Main Street program, the city's Main Street program. And it only applies, of course, within
That
that
district.
district. This property, for instance, the property in Area 1 has already been in the municipal tax district since, well, at least since the early 90s. It's well over 20
So
years.
it's already been paid. We've already been paying
Yes. Oh,
that
yes.
14
Yes,
14
in
cents
addition
extra.
to
The
whatever
regular
the property
county and city
taxes are.
tax,
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that won't change.
That would
will
not
not
change.
change.
It says something about requested amendment is in compliance with the Morganton Mission 2030 goals and objectives. What are those? I mean, how does that tie in?
Mission 2030 was a project in a planning process, a 2-year process that we went through, and it basically is a land use plan with economic development in mind, and it takes on certain goals and sets out initiatives that you would take in specific areas of town to try to create growth and match that up. For instance, it designates a river district along the river and down by the Greenway area and sets up goals and objectives you would like to reach in that area, the downtown area, the main corridors coming into town, and it's really a comprehensive plan that talks about how we would use and develop properties with economic development in mind based on specific areas.
So is there a plan for this particular area?
This falls within the downtown area of that plan. So there is no specific project, if you will, planned
that
for that
property.
within that. It's just general initiatives and general goals and objectives for the area as a whole.
But that's a
Does
good
that answer that?
But that's a good question. Our new master plan will again look at the properties.
That's correct. The downtown master plan would again, for these 36 blocks, look at opportunities and have a lot of public involvement and a lot of citizen involvement for what we'd like to see happen over the next 15 to 20 years there.
So who is the person responsible for the master plan? I mean, who's sort of heading that up?
That girl right over there, Sharon Jablonski.
Okay, okay.
So, and certainly we'll be happy to take your name and ask you to participate.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I don't
We love a
necessarily need to
volunteer.
participate. I just,
Oh,
But it's a great process. I think it'd be a good thing.
okay, okay. Okay, so I think that was all the questions that I had. I just wanted to understand, is there a difference between the tax district and the CBD, or did we already talk about that?
That's what we're trying to fix by this, is to make them more similar. Right?
Comprende.
The real goal of this rezoning is to make sure that all the areas within the municipal tax district, the downtown tax district, are zoned central business district.
Okay, okay. Okay, I think that's all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Any other member of the public like to speak at this public hearing? I'll call the public hearing closed. Council, I need a motion, please.
I move to confirm that the requested map amendment are in compliance with the Morganton Mission 2030 goals and objectives.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. We need another
Move to
motion.
adopt an ordinance that amends the zoning map of the city of Morganton to rezone 4 separate areas adjacent to the downtown from their present LID or MID zoning classification to a central business district zoning classification.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous.
I've never been accused.
Okay, so
I've got the next one, too.
I'd like to call a public hearing to consider amending sections 5.4.3.2, parentheses F, of the zoning ordinance to specify landscaping standards around the base of all freestanding signs. Would anyone like to speak on the amending section 5.4.3.2 F of the zoning ordinance?
If I may address.
Really, if you'd please tell us about 5.4.3.2.
I'll keep this as simple as possible. This is a very minor but needed change as recommended by the planning department staff. It concerns, and attached in your material, I think there are some pictures that depict what a freestanding sign is. Self-explanatory, I guess. We do require landscaping around freestanding signs, but as written, the ordinance was vague about that. The proposed amendment, well, let's put it this way. The original provision was that it had to be a minimum of 8 small shrubs around the sign. Now, the proposed amendment would change it to say that 8 small shrubs or 1 medium shrub for every 2 small ones. So you could have 4 medium shrubs in there. And it had to be within an area of 50 square feet around the base. This would not, of course, any existing freestanding sign would not be affected unless there was significant alteration made in the sign, in which case it would have to comply. This was proposed to, considered by Planning and Zoning at its meeting in May and unanimously recommended.
Only planners, right?
Yeah.
And I might add that it looks like we might need to do a little work, whether we change it or not, to the Catawba River Soccer Complex sign, of which I see almost every day of my life, and have never just paid attention to that, I don't think.
Would any member of the public like to speak concerning the landscaping standards around the base of freestanding signs? I'll call the public hearing closed. Gentlemen, I need a motion.
I move that we confirm that the requested amendment is in compliance with the Morganton Mission 2030 goals and objectives.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I move we adopt an ordinance amending section 5432F of the zoning ordinance to specify landscaping standards around the base of freestanding signs.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Louis, I have a question about a freestanding sign. Would that be something like real estate signs? Those are freestanding?
The definition is in the,
But those are temporary,
Pictures.
I
right?
just think they're temporary, but I'm just looking for clarification. I'd hate to
Yeah.
landscape a 50 square foot area around every real estate sign.
no, that
although-
wouldn't, these are permanent signs.
Gee, why not?
The definition.
Easy, Forrest, easy.
Actually, it's a good question. The definition of freestanding signs is that they are permanent, identifying a business or organization and located on site. And the size restriction depends on the zone. It's going to be much more is allowed, like in an HID or industrial area than in, say, a low-intensity residential area.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions from council? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I would like to ask our interpreter if she needs a break.
Are you good?
We'll recess for 5 minutes, please.
Thought it was time for her. She's been going since 6.
come back out of recess, and is this a public hearing too?
No.
We'd like to consider an ordinance and order directing the inspector to effectuate the purposes of Article E, Part 9 of the Charter and Code of Ordinances for the City of Morgan regarding property at 218 Jefferson Street. I'd like to call on Louis for that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another of our series that you frequently consider on properties that are in poor condition. The property at 218 Jefferson Street is owned by Jonathan and Kelly Huggins. The building inspector has been watching this property and has visited it several times over a period of at least 5 years. Because of its condition, Mike Krotz noticed a hearing on the property that he conducted back in March. He determined at that time there was sufficient basis for determining the property was unfit for human habitation and was an abandoned structure. You have in front of you, and we'll show some pictures of the condition of this property. It is at the very end of Jefferson Street, which is a dead end that does not have a cul-de-sac. You saw the outside picture. Obviously, windows are gone. The property is hopelessly overgrown. It's completely unkempt from the inside. You can see the doors are off the hinges. The walls are falling apart. The flooring is in bad condition. There's the front. As you can see, it is self-evidently has been abandoned and unoccupied for quite some time. The roof is in poor condition. It is certainly unlivable. There was some boarding up of windows or doors earlier, but apparently the boards are now gone. You can see the siding has also come off the structure as well. In any event, the building inspector definitely found it to be, because of its poor state of repair, that it had increased hazards of fire or other calamity, lack of sanitary facilities, and other conditions rendering it unsafe, dangerous, or detrimental to the health and welfare. The building also is of such condition that it cannot be repaired or improved at a cost of less than 60% of its value, according to the findings of the inspector, and therefore should be removed or demolished. That order was entered on April 1, giving the owner 30 days to either begin the repair or to remove the building or otherwise demolish it. And since that time, the owners have notified the building inspector they wish to proceed with repair, but that an extended period of time would be needed to do any such repair. Given that, and given the fact that no work has been done, and given the state of the building, the building inspector has asked council to approve an ordinance pursuant to our code to allow the city to proceed with demolition and removal of the structure. I would note that there is, of course, money in the budget. $50,000 was appropriated for this in the coming fiscal year proposed budget for nuisance abatement. There are also some funds available in CDBG funds for slum and blight removal. Estimate has been made that removal or demolition of this structure would require about $10,000. And I do believe, I should tell you, I believe the owner is here tonight. May wish to speak.
First, I'd like Mike Krotz to come forward and as the inspector and maybe give us some more detail, please, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. We've dealt with this, or I've dealt with this since about '06 with inspections. The houses went downhill. 2010, '09 and 2010, it was boarded up, and the owner boarded it from inside, so it helped some of the vagrants getting out. I mean, there was pretty bad vagrants, and I think kids in the neighborhood occupying or hanging out in the house. He got that stopped. The boarding, I noticed just probably last year that the boards had been, you could see the pictures, the boards had been knocked off of that one front window. Don't know if they're getting in it. It doesn't look like a lot of activity in it. as far as vagrants but it's still really dangerous it needs to be either fixed, boarded up again, and start construction. If the construction is not started, ASAP, it's in bad shape. The owner needs to state his case, I guess, and y'all make a decision tonight. Appreciate if y'all could do something with it, so. Questions?
Any questions for Mike?
This been, Mr. Cox, this has been going on for 10 years.
Yeah, I started with inspection since '06, so yeah, we're 9 to 10 years into this one. I think the owner has some other rental properties. He's purchased a building permit in '09, I think. I'd have to dig my records, got a pretty big file, but I think in '09, 10 did not do any work, act on that permit. Just let that permit expire. And I think he's had some other rental properties that he's working on, but again, that just hadn't pursued this one at all, and here it is, 2016.
Council have any questions for Mike? Any more questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I think the property owner is here, maybe want to speak.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I guess you want to be with me. My name is Jonathan Heath Huckins. I'm here in Paris. I'm going to try to talk clear as possible. This is my daughter, Hannah Huckins. Okay, as Mike was stating, of course, the property, I think I made bad decision buying that property, but I think the past. And I want to visit the place so I can rent it for $5.50 a month. And of course, when I got permit in 2009, I did started the work about going in, taking sheet rock down, and trying to start working. But of course, because it's in bad area, I was planning to work on it nearer and nearer at a time. But the problem, people broken in, stole electrical wire out of the building, and got to the point that I knew the only way I could safely get the work done is build up working capital. Because the only way that I could really do it and get the work and get rented out as soon as possible, I need about $11,000 of working capital. As you can see, what my estimate work needs to be done, I've spoke to the contractor. And since that time period, 2009, I had a good job. I got laid off from a federal job. And since then, I've been working on a commission-based job. And to try to get myself to better booty, I've been going back to school, working on master in accounting. I should graduate this May with a 4.0 from Garden Web. And I'm trying to work on CPA so I can get a higher paid job, so I can still do real estate business and build working capital and work on restructuring my debt and try to be able to get some funding to be able to get Jefferson Street built. And I have a loan against that property of $32,000. And so I really need about up to a year. But like Mike talked about, I have a wet tenant detachment. Well, I'm sorry, baby. Sorry. And I could talk to Bourne up the place as soon as possible and work in partnership with Mike White and see what the best way that I can work with the Bourne to allow me to have more time, if need to, get outside looking good, this good and more, until I can raise money before I work on this side. So, any help I can have, I greatly appreciate it. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Huggins?
I guess a question I'd have for you, what would you say the cost would be for getting this house back to a livable condition?
Okay, what I put in here, I would need about 15,000 to 17,000. So far, because the point here to get a licensed person, because I can't do so much, I have to get a licensed person. To get a person licensed to do electrical, board rewire, plumbing upgrade, and heating air system, depends on what well I do with heating air, it'll be like 11,000. Now the roof, the foundation is still good. So once I get those quill lines and things, I maybe do sheet rock and everything, refinish hardwood floor, and get all cleaned up and everything. And start off would be about $15,000, what we need to be able to get it livable.
Any other questions?
How long have you owned this property?
I believe that was 2008 or 2000. I bought it right before the market started prime crash. And like I said, I was in charge of this department refinance. I could get cash out and move it around. But after that crash happened, I'm sure y'all know the story. The bank changed the rules, how they lend, and left me with the bank. So,
That long, he ain't done nothing, he ain't gonna do nothing.
Any other questions?
It's hard to believe that you're going to be able to get anything done now after you've had it over 10 years and you have been instructed by the inspector to get it done, and look what it's doing to the rest of the neighborhood as it remains in or waiting on you to get this done.
okay, like I said, the start, I did not have the property for 10 years. I had since 2009. The other people deal with people with the private owner. But like I said, the story chance I got into layoff. And then they tried to work on it. That's why I'm trying to go to grad school so I could get a better job. Being here in Pale like I am, it makes it hard for me to get that kind of job. But that's why I'm trying to go near county. So if I could get a good, highly paid job, and still with real estate, still could do it to be able to get built up. And I'm working on restructure some debt with the bank and different things, so I might get cash out, help you work at capital. I'll be able to get work done on it.
Other comments? Thank you so much.
No problem, it's a pleasure.
Do I have a motion?
But it don't.
I move we adopt an ordinance in order to effectuate the purposes of Article E, Part 9 of the Charter and Code of Ordinances for the City of Morganton regarding property at 218 Jefferson Street.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? John, I think your questions a moment ago was well placed because there's a debt on the property already, and there's going to have to take working capital to improve it. Is that where you're headed with it? I
That's
think?
exactly, and I know Mr. Huggins has tried, but if we don't do this, it's just going to drag on, and the property without the building is probably worth more as a vacant lot than it is the way it presently is. That's a no-brainer. Now, getting this $15,000 and the time is all dependent upon Mr. Huggins getting a better job, and there's no timetable for that. And this is going to continue, and it's not fair to the other property owners in that area, and so this is a tough decision to make, but I think it's the right decision.
Any further discussion?
Well,
Simmons?
I'm gonna tell you, I see some folks that's sitting in the audience, and I know what we did when their property came up, and I like to treat everybody the same. So I'm in agreement with John.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Next, we have to consider a resolution authorizing the City of Morganton to submit a grant application to the Appalachian Regional Commission in the amount of $1,070,420 for the Hospitality Transportation Access Project. Sally?
Yes, we have the opportunity to apply for a federal grant to help to construct what would basically become a new access road that will serve property that is being considered for development at Exit 105 for a new hospitality site. It would include a hotel and some other opportunities. We'll tell you that and as you see in your information, there's a proposal to create 5 parcels on the property, which would allow further development of the additional parcels later. The road would start at Sterling Street and go all the way through to West Parker. We'll tell you that this grant is an opportunity that does not require a local match.
Would this grant increase possible job creation?
It would definitely do that because it would allow one of the stipulations for the new construction to happen on this property is for the road and the grant to be successful. And by allowing the road to come through for the hospitality, the hotel and surrounding properties to get developed would create new jobs.
Thank you. You've heard the proposal. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the application for $1,070,420 in ARC funds.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Next, we have consideration of a request submitted by Roger Dreyer to permanently close and abandon an unopened cul-de-sac right-of-way at the end of Raintree Lane. Louis, is that
I'll
yours or
take it.
Sally?
I'll do it. It's simple.
Okay.
This is, Raintree Lane is a street off of Jamestown Road that goes steeply downhill and ends in a cul-de-sac. However, that cul-de-sac is not where it was originally platted when the street was accepted by the city a long time ago. And as your attached map shows, the actual cul-de-sac that's there now is, well, you can see it on the drawing.
The white cul-de-sac?
The white cul-de-sac, and the area in yellow beyond that is actually a dedicated street right-of-way for where the cul-de-sac was planned to be. The terrain was just too steep to put the cul-de-sac there, so in fact it was put in the white area. And now Mr. Dreyer, who owns the property on either side of it, in fact all around this cul-de-sac, has requested that it be closed, which certainly makes sense for him since it just eats into what would otherwise be his property. And the city staff certainly agrees with that. Now, Mr. Dreyer has asked that the city, he says that the city agreed to do that at the time of when the current cul-de-sac was done in '99. We can't find any record of that. However, there's no reason that anyone with the city staff can see why not to do this.
And we would need a public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so we'd be asking you to call for that at the August 1st council meeting, because there is no July.
Right, and there's no
meeting.
time to do it before that.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt a resolution of intent to permanently close and abandon a portion of unopened cul-de-sac right-of-way at the end of Raintree Lane and set a public hearing date of Monday, August 1, 2016 at 6:15 p.m. in City Hall Council Chambers to consider this action.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Next, we have consideration of a sidewalk encroachment agreement at 113 East Union Street, and I think we have a handout in the material you were given outside your package should be passed out earlier. Sally?
We do, and you also have a photograph in your packet showing the proposal of the encroachment. And this is really in keeping with the other businesses along there that have an outdoor seating area to service their business. It would be an encroachment that would go in, and there would be a dividing line, if you will, so that the public could still travel up and down the sidewalk. There would be seating in that area, and then I believe if you go on to read, they talk about a wooden planter that would create the barrier and have the seating inside of that planter.
Do we have a motion?
Move we approve sidewalk encroachment agreement for 113 East Union Street with Homer's Soda Shop LLC.
Have a motion, a second?
Second.
Motion, a second. Any discussion?
If I might,
Please.
just 1 second, Mr. Mayor, I realize what was in here still says Homer's Soda Shop.
The new-
Technically,
Yeah.
yeah, the property owner is actually 113 Union LLC, but Homer's Soda Shop LLC will be operating the business there. But our encroachment agreements go with the owner of the property, so that will need to be corrected on the actual
Okay.
document.
Will the person making the motion accept that amendment or?
I will accept that
A
amendment.
second?
Yeah, and I
Second.
accept it as a second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next, we'll consideration of approving a water contract with Brentwood Water Corporation. Sally?
We have had a water purchase agreement with Brentwood since 1977. I was in middle school, I might add. Anyway, they've been purchasing water for a long time, and wish to continue doing that. City staff, mainly Brad and Louie, have met with these folks and are interested in renewing that contract. The new contract would be for a period of 10 years. It would increase their maximum water supply to be 40 million gallons. Currently, they're using about 25 million. We have plenty of capacity in order to do that, and would set their rates at the outside city rates, whatever from time to time you decide for those to be.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve a water purchase contract between the City of Morganton and Brentwood Water Corporation, and to authorize the mayor and city manager to execute and issue those agreements on behalf of the city, together with the additional authority to make such alterations, technical amendments, and changes that may be necessary to implement each of these agreements.
We have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have consideration for an appointment to the Human Relations Commission. Last month, we appointed members to that, and we had another vacancy to be appointed. And I'd like to appoint Tricia Evans to the Human Relations Council for a term to expire on May 3rd, 2019. Our next appointment will be consideration for the Board of Adjustment. Sally?
You have 3 vacancies due to term expirations on this board. Those are Beth Walker, Bryant Lindsay, and George Bailey. Beth has indicated that she would not like to be considered for reappointment at this time. Bryant and George Bailey have been good attendees and consistent members and have expressed a willingness to continue serving. And you also have several folks who have indicated an interest in being on this board, and we have listed those in your packet.
And we have one additional one that came in late. I think Dale Britton has expressed an interest in serving on this board. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to appoint and/or reappoint Dale Britton, Brian Lindsay, George Bailey to the Board of Adjustment, terms to expire June the 3rd, 2019.
Do we have any other motions? Do I have a second? I'll second the motion. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next appointment is Cable Television Commission. Sally?
You have 2 vacancies on this board, and those are also expiration of terms, and that is William Robertson Jr. and Dr. Audrey Garvin from NCSD. There's also 2 vacancies, AARP and high school representatives. Both William Robertson and Dr. Garvin have expressed a willingness to continue serving. You will get high school students when school comes back into session, and we have received a recommendation and a request. Jim Cates is the AARP recommendation to be considered for this. And we also have another individual, Lolita Jenkins, that has expressed an interest in serving on the commission.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move we reappoint William Robertson and Dr. Audrey Garvin as members of the Cable Television Commission for terms to expire June 1, 2019. And
Second.
it takes a separate motion for.
We have a
Kate's.
motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. The motion passes. We have another motion?
I move we appoint Jim Cates as AAR representative for the term to expire June 1, 2017.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Our next is a mayor appointment for the Community Appearance Advisory Commission, and I'm appointing Bill Lennon and Eddie McJimsey for terms to expire on June 1st, 2019 as the mayor appointment. Our next appointment is the... Three vacancies?
Yes,
There
there
is
are
still one other
3.
vacancy.
I would also like to appoint Liz Beach to serve a term to expire on June 1st, 2019. There were 3
Yes.
appointments, okay.
Yes.
Okay, under Main Street Advisory Commission, we have, Sally, you want to talk about the Main Street Advisory Commission?
Sure. Crawford Craigie was a Crescent Resources employee and is no longer able to serve on this board. Jerry Norville and Bobby McCombs have been serving and have terms that are expiring. Both of them wish to be considered for reappointment, and then Crawford's position will be vacant and need to have someone appointed to that. It would be for a term that would expire June 30th, 2019. And you have Colin Suttles with Brown Mountain Bottle Works has asked to be considered to fill the seat.
This is a mayor appointment that I will reappoint Jerry Norville and Bobby McCombs to the Main Street Advisory Commission with terms to expire on June 30th, 2019, and also appoint Colin Suttles for a term to expire on June 30th, 2019. Okay, next we have Planning and Zoning.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah.
June is an incredible month for boards and commissions. You have 3 individuals who have terms that are expiring: Judy Francis, Hank Dickens, and Pete Wallace. In addition to that, Kim Woolard has moved to Raleigh and tendered her resignation. Her term would expire in June of 2017, so that's a 1-year appointment. Judy, Hank, and Pete have participated and been good members and have indicated they are interested and willing to continue serving. To complicate it worse, Don Smith has been a county appointee, because the county makes appointments to this board, since 2013. He has also been an active participant in the board. He has now moved into the city, and so asking that he be considered to be appointed to fulfill the 1-year term vacated by Kim Woolard. And then Burke County will have to suggest a replacement for the county
In 2017?
position.
Well, immediately.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, I mean, the county would immediately, hopefully, find
That feels-
someone, or tell us as soon as they have someone.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
You almost need a flow chart for that one.
I move we reappoint Judy Francis, Hank Dickens, and Pete Wallace to the Planning and Zoning Commission for terms to expire June 3rd, 2019.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
For a second.
Okay, of course, I'm sorry. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? The motion passes. We have a second motion.
I move we appoint Don Smith to fill the unexpired term vacated by Tim Willard, which expires June 3rd, 2017.
We
Second.
have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Motion passes. And we have the Recreation Advisory Commission.
Last but not least, 3 vacancies due to term expirations, and those expiring terms are Harvey Dahl, Tim Johnson, and Chris Witherspoon. This is a board where there is not an opportunity to reappoint those. You are required to vacate the board, and you could come back on later, but once your term is up,
So you have
Just
to take
sit
at
out.
least a year off.
you have to take a break.
A break in service.
Mhm.
Okay.
You have Stephen Grady, Butch McSwain, and Sharon, better known as Sherry Morris, who have indicated their willingness to serve on this board.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Move to
Motion.
appoint.
Go ahead,
Go
Carter.
ahead. I yield to the
Go ahead, Sid.
left-hand side.
Motion to appoint Stephen Grady, Butch McSwain, and Sherry Morris to the Recreation Advisory Commission for the term to expire June 30th, 2019.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Motion passes. Do we have any other business to come before council? Stand adjourned.